is the passage of Props B and E. Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in this room, people in the community, just everyone who participated and went out and voted. We needed these to pass to keep our teachers, to make improvements to our facilities, and I am just very thankful. I'd also like to thank our Keep MRH Strong crew, many of whom don't even have kids in the district anymore, or whose kids are on the tail end, who spent a significant amount of time knocking doors, putting up signs. So a special thank you to you too. So. Next we have Teachers of the Year and Support Staff of the Year by Dr. Ambers Phillips.
Hi, thank you. I am honored tonight to acknowledge the incredible work that's happening in our district. Every day we are here to celebrate individuals who go above and beyond. They inspire, they lead, they lift others up around them. It's a true honor to be able to recognize our Building Teacher of the Year, our District Teacher of the Year, our Building Support Staff Members of the Year, and our District Support Staff Member of the Year. They are outstanding examples of excellence and the heart that defines our MRH community. So before inviting each of them up, I'll just be sharing a very short excerpt from the nominations to give you a glimpse of the impact they've made. I'd also ask that after I read the nomination and the individual, that the principal come up with them, and if they actually invited a guest and they're here with them as well, that individual comes up for a photo opportunity. So first, I'll start with support staff. David Spellman. He is here with his father. David is an Adventure Club worker. He is the lead Adventure Club worker, and he's also an SSD, teacher's assistant, or building aide. David is always willing to step up and help out when it is not a part of his job. He goes out of his way to help others on a regular basis. He builds relationships with students and staff. He's a collaborator, and if you don't know him, he has an amazing sense of humor. David, thank you so much for all that you do. If your father would like to come up, Dr. Wicker and Dr. Stansfield. And also, Ms. Pressman, our director of SSD, I'd like for her to be a part of this picture as well. Next, we have Kat Norton. Kat Norton is an administrative assistant here at Central Office. As a proud MRH alum, parent, and staff member, Kat brings a unique and an invaluable perspective to her role. Her history with the district fuels her passion for our mission and vision, and her actions consistently demonstrate her unwavering commitment to the MRH community. Kat is also our district support staff member of the year, so we also have a very nice trophy plaque that we'd like our board president to be able to present to her. And any members of the central office staff who'd like to come and join Kat in this picture, feel free to do so. I get it. And for the District Support Staff Member of the Year, Kat, hold please. So for the district winners, all of the building winners already have received $500. So for the district winners, there's another $500 that was awarded to them as well. My new best friend for the last 2 years is here. He's the Director of Community Relations for Community America Credit Union. So I'd like to announce and introduce Mike O'Brien, who's here to also kind of give Kat a little something extra. Now we'd like to announce our Middle School Teacher of the Year. Michaela is a strong advocate for her students. She is a special education teacher, 7th, 8th grade. She builds classrooms and the district level. She advocates on all levels for her students. Michaela Jackson joins in on grade level planning, building meetings, and district committees to give a voice to students with special needs to ensure they receive the very best possible education. She goes above and beyond to connect with families as well and uses a wraparound approach to meet her students' every need. Michaela is here with her husband. I'd like for him to come up to also participate. Her principal is also here, Mr. Zitzer. I did see him somewhere. Snaky would have bit me. So I'd like for him to come up. And then also, our Director of Special Education, Emily Cressman. High School Teacher of the Year is Miss Bethany Noby. I actually did a sigh of relief when I saw her come in the door because she was coming from a soccer game and she told me she wasn't sure if she was going to make it on time. So I put you down a little bit lower to give you some time. So Bethany is a dedicated teacher in MRH. She is an MRH alum and she came back to teach here because she has invested in our community. She takes teaching very seriously and stays on top of the kids to make sure they give their all every day. Bethany Noby, our High School Teacher of the Year. Bethany's building principal is here, Ms. Nicole Huffman. And Rich, you're a colleague. Do you want to get in that picture with your colleague? Okay.
I just need these photos as disclaimer. She just posted this on.
Yes, make sure you say that. And last but not least, Annie Rothenberg is a first grade teacher over at ECC. A resounding let's go. Annie is our ECC Teacher of the Year. She demonstrates a strong commitment to enhancing her craft by actively seeking opportunities to learn and grow. She's been a member of the new math curriculum team, is nearing completion of her letters training, and is part of the new competency-based teacher group. Recently, she received her National Board Teaching Certification. In addition to these accomplishments, she continues to serve as the president of the MRH NEA, representing our staff with dedication and professionalism. Annie Rothenberg is also the District Teacher of the Year, so I'd like for her principal, assistant principal to come up, and then her husband is also here to join her. And I'm trying to think if there's anyone else in the audience who's a part of the ECC family who'd like to be in this photo. Well, go ahead. Let's go ahead and get you going. I would like our board president to be in that picture and superintendent too. Thank you, sorry. Thanks for keeping me on my toes. So there are just a few more people I'd like to acknowledge. Not present today was our elementary teacher of the year, that is Lisa Weaver. Also, several support staff members of the year were not present, unable to attend. We have at the high school, Maurice Rushing, at the middle school, Casey Pullen, and then at the elementary school, Nazim Chikurzi. And then I would like for everyone who's here to be able to take a picture in the vestibule. Ed Rich is trying to get all of you guys as well. And then, thank you for keeping me on my toes. Annie, we've got another surprise for you. My friend is back. Mr. O'Brien would like to present you.
We actually have one more recognition for you because it Board Secretaries Week. And so we wanted to recognize you for your patience in working with us, and we appreciate you. Yeah. Katie will cover you. All right. Next, we have public forum. We have one person signed up. It is Nick Homa.
Thank you. I'll be quick tonight. Good evening to the board, district administration, MRH community. My name is Nick Homa, 3525 Commonwealth Avenue in Maplewood. I'm often quick to step to the podium to provide constructive feedback, and I want to be quick to step to the podium to provide congratulations and say thank you for all the work that you did for Propositions B and E. I have regularly been attending meetings again over the last several months, and I've watched you all work through the financials, the budget, Props B and E, and disagree and have some tension publicly, and I think that's all part of the work, and I just wanted to say I appreciate all of you pounding the pavement, knocking doors, doing what needs to be done to ensure the school district has the money they need for both the students, the staff, and the buildings. So publicly just wanted to say thank you, and very proud to be part of this community where you guys work so hard for us. So thanks.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have consent agenda. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does anyone have any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I'd ask that we move item 6, career ladder, to action items before some discussion later.
Okay, so I think first we'll move it to study items. I'll do it as number 4 under study items, and then, so we can discuss it, and then we'll put it on action items too.
Sounds good.
All right? So we didn't need to vote. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
I did, okay. All right, all in favor of the amended consent agenda? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? All right. No. Now we have the student communications, our PAL board report. We just wanted to note, we moved this up in our schedule because we understand our students have homework and other things, and so, and our meetings tend to go late, and so we wanted them to have an opportunity to get their report in, and if at any time you need to leave because you have to go do stuff, please feel free to do so. So we have Avon Kriya here tonight presenting on behalf of the PAL board.
Hi. As you can see, neither our president or vice president, Maya Nodessa, could make it tonight, but I volunteered to step in because, want to help those girls out. So today we are presenting. Yay. So I'm going to start with our ask. So this month we met with all the schools, and we decided that our month's ask will be focusing on our extracurricular opportunities. And we specifically want to consider reevaluating where our money goes when it comes to our extracurriculars and where it's being spent, adding MRH middle school sports in addition to the existing youth sports, and having some ECC and high school connections for clubs and internships. So the reevaluation, basically what we kind of want for that is to have an audit of clubs and activities to ensure our money is being spent efficiently. We want to see what money is going where and whether or not that needs to be rerouted into another area. So if an activity is getting more money than they need, we could maybe use that for any other sports activities that we want to bring to the high school, middle school, any other area. And also, adding extracurriculars could become more realistic by moving money from lesser used resources. Middle school competitive sports, we had a meeting with the middle school, and we talked a lot about their after-school activities as well as the clubs. And if any of you don't know, middle school and below, the sports that they participate in are through youth sports, which is a separate program from MRH. And a lot of the kids expressed a desire to have specifically MRH middle school sports because it's a little bit more competitive. And we realized that this might help them stay from that transition to 8th to 9th grade. So we tend to lose a couple students every year from that transition. They tend to go to some high schools that have more competitive sports because they didn't have that opportunity in middle school. So we think that's a really good idea, is to bring that opportunity to them to keep more students engaged so they'll want to stay for high school. And so for the ECC in high school, we talked to the ECC kids, and they did seem quite interested in having high schoolers coming and working with them. So, you know, an opportunity for high schoolers to come to have an internship to assist running in clubs and after-school activities, kind of like what they already do with the, not really Discover Club, I don't remember the name, but waiting for parents to pick up kids, they will attend to them. This will help ECC students connect with high schoolers and just be more engaged in school and after-school activities. And it will also give our high schoolers a chance to maybe practice and demonstrate some of the abilities they want to continue with after high school. So any teaching, any internship stuff that's optional. And I think this would also be really great just, you know, to expand our, you know, schools and internship. So why is this important? Well, you know, only 47% of our high schoolers are actually in MISHA sports, not even half, which is, you know, we could totally get that number up. And usually being in an after-school activity or a club, you know, really helps increase those performance rates among high schoolers, which will probably also help other grades as well, like middle school, ECC, elementary, if we add stuff to them. But also just participating in extracurriculars and sports kind of helps leadership, stewardship, all the main goals of MRH, and helps students learn how to be better people and also gets them prepared for the outside environment that they're going to be traveling to eventually. So that is our ask, and that is why we think that it would be really great to look at those possibilities for the high school, ECC, middle school, elementary. Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I think, well, maybe it is a question. I think that last year we kind of floated the idea of like a mentorship program, like a big buddy, like little buddy kind of thing, you know, for the seniors and freshmen or whatever, to help them. Is that anything that y'all have considered as well, or is that?
We have had some like mentoring, especially with like tutoring and homework help here at the high school. Sometimes it's a little hard to keep both the two different grades engaged with each other, seeing as they're in the same building and there's that like tension between, you know, younger kids and older kids. But there seems to be, from what I've seen, a click between very young and very old kids. So we were thinking maybe expanding that out to kids who, you know, might need it a little bit more too, might be a big help.
I actually really like that idea because I think you mentioned maybe like working it for the high schoolers into like internships. Mm-hmm. So if they have an area of interest like robotics or something like that, perhaps they could do a club. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, and even just like if they're looking into becoming a teacher or an administrator eventually further on past high school, I think that would also be really neat.
And Dr. McGee, is there a path for some sort of credit for high school students, like if they are tutors or?
There's a couple qualifications. We've got the course for internship on campus, off campus. We also have some A+ hours that could be counted for tutoring as well. So many avenues for that.
Thank you.
I love you connecting that to our students committee. Thanks, Josh. I also appreciate the request from students to understand better how money is being distributed across the clubs and the sports and the activities, and would certainly be in favor of more clarity for the participants, as well as, you know, I think MRH certainly punches above our weight as far as the amount of opportunities that our high school students have. I mean, y'all are the most scheduled young people in the county, I'm quite certain. That I think we also recognize that interest in certain things ebbs and flows, and that need to continue to assess whether we're putting the funds where the current interest lies is a good reminder.
Yeah, we also just want to give kids an opportunity to, have those after school activities that they want to engage with. Like, I know that there's been some times this year where students have come up to Ms. Huffman and been like, hey, we should start this club, like a biking club, a home ec club, a reading club, etc. And we really want to bring those to the students to just maybe also engage a bigger demographic as well to these after school programs.
Anyone else have any thoughts? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have study items. We have, first up, bond schedule and market volatility by Dr. Bonita Jameson.
And I do want to apologize in advance. I think this item should have been in admin communication, so my apologies in advance. So I'm bringing before you two items. The first item is to keep the board up to date with some of the changes, but also to give a timeline for what it looks like for the bond schedule and point out several critical pieces that are important for us to discuss. First, you will see at the top of this document, Dr. McGee, if you can make that a little bit larger for community too. At the top of the document, it says $11 million. This is based on the payoff of the lease agreement for this building in the amount of $2.7 million, and then some of the potential projects that have been outlined by Dr. Dietrich, but a few pieces that I want to highlight that are critical activities for us. The first is the due diligence call. This call really highlights information around finance risk, legal policy risk, credit debt risk, governance and operation risk, and it also impacts the rating that we get. So that's one that will be critical for us to examine to ensure that our responses are aligned, so that our rating for S&P, which is the next critical item, being given to the board, because that impacts the rates that we receive when we sell the bonds. The other item that you will see that is listed is noted for a potential date of 6/5. That will be a conversation with the board further to discuss perimeter resolution, and this basically allows us to set parameters and gives bond counsel the opportunity to quickly move within the market, because it then ties to the next document that I want to discuss, which is the historical interest rate volatility historical snapshot. And so this one is really critical because of the interest rate changes, the inflation, the investment demands, and also the economic uncertainty, and also looking at the impact of cost of what we can actually borrow. So two things that are linked to the bond schedule is the timing of bond sales, which is the item that I actually noted around parameters resolution. That gives us, again, the flexibility to be able to do that, and ensures that we're being good stewards to get the lowest interest rates, as well as to receive the best pricing for the bonds. So Lorenzo Boyd from Stiefel will be with us at the next board meeting to discuss this further and to answer any questions that the board may have. That is the presentation that I have for right now. Are there any questions that I can answer from the board?
Yeah, I have a question. So for the due diligence call, do we need to be on that, in that meeting, or are you representing the board?
So it's usually the CFO, the superintendent, you have bond counsel, so that will be Gilmore and Bell, and also Lorenzo Boyd. So they actually front load the documents to us. So there are a list of questions, they provide us the questions, and they also give us the responses that we submitted before. So for the last bond in 2020, we will receive those responses so that we can see how we actually responded and if we need to make adjustments and so forth. That information will be shared with the board before actually discussed with and during the due diligence call.
Sounds good, thank you.
Of Professional Staff by Dr. Shonda Ambers Phillip.
Good evening. I am bringing policy GCN to the board for your review for some proposed changes. If you pull up the attachment, you will see that I am recommending summative be removed from teacher evaluation process and for it just to say an evaluation. Under the teacher evaluation, it says the superintendent or designee or evaluator will annually complete a summative evaluation on the performance of the district's teachers. What I am proposing is that we have our tenured teachers on a 3-year rotation or schedule for summative evaluations. This is a practice that is commonly happening throughout education and the region and the state. Essentially, what we have found here in MRH is that there is a little bit of an inconsistency in terms of every teacher receiving an annual summative evaluation, although our policy communicates that it is happening, so that is something that we certainly want to correct. We believe that for our probationary teachers, our newer teachers, that the summative evaluation annually is important. And that it will certainly help for them to build their capacity to be a stronger teacher. In terms of our tenured teacher, because of their years of service, we believe certainly that the need does not exist for that summative longer process to take place. They will still be evaluated. There's lots of different ways that we will assess their growth, formative evaluations, observations, professional learning conversations, goal-setting meetings. So there are other opportunities on an annual basis that this will be occurring. So, and this will also free up time for our administrators to really focus on our probationary teachers to best meet their needs. Are there any questions that the board has? Also like to invite Dr. Stephanie Bouchard up. So thank you. We are excited about being able to present evaluations for our certified staff members and also our instructional support staff members. So first I'll start with the overview, the why. What is the purpose? The purpose of this is to ensure that we have fair and equitable evaluation practices and to promote professional growth and development throughout our district. We want to also make sure that we're in line with state statute. Currently, our teacher evaluation instrument that we use in the district is over 20 years old. So we want to make sure that we have a newer evaluation tool in place and that we are not only meeting our district goals, but the state statutes as well. So we believe that the purpose is definitely warranted for us to do this work. The key goals and the objectives, again, we want to make sure that we're aligning this evaluation tool with our organizational goals. We also have done a purchase, if you will, for frontline evaluation systems. So we have one single platform where individuals can go through this platform for recruitment and hiring, for professional development, for absence management if they need to be out, for evaluations. And so it's a single sign-on system. So we have invested in this platform and we want to make sure that we're able to upload our teacher evaluation instruments, all of our evaluation instruments in this actual system. Some of the other systems that we utilized would require us to use their platform, and we are already paying for this service, and we wanted to make sure that we were leveraging it. Additionally, one of the key objectives was to ensure that our instructional support evaluation instrument was aligned with the job description and the role. Our instructional support staff members are our teacher assistants and then our individuals who work in the Venture Club. They work directly with students, but our support staff instrument is for all support staff positions, and so some of those positions, there's a lot of variance between those positions, and so using one evaluation instrument tool to actually assess all employees under that category certainly was not providing the information that we needed it to do so. So we wanted to make sure that it was aligned to their position and their role in giving meaningful feedback. And then alignment with the strategic plan. Our goal under the strategic plan, if you look under the section for our students, you'll see that this is verbatim that we wanted to establish these work groups to actually review, to develop, and revise our evaluation instruments. And so that's one of the things that we did. It was our charge for our people, MOTs, on the management oversight team, to make sure that we followed a thorough process of revising our evaluation instruments. And then that last bullet point just lets you know that the alignment with MSIP 6 and the specific areas where that alignment is connected. This was kind of our timeline to kind of walk you through. It was a little bit fluid, but for the most part, we did stay consistent to what you see here. On 9/10, we met as a full group, all of the members of the MOT, and we explained the what, the why, the how, and the when. So like, what is the purpose of the work? Why are we engaging in this work, and why is it really important and relevant? So I think from that first meeting, everyone was able to understand the rationale as to why we would engage in this endeavor. And then we broke up into small groups. And so there's one group for the certified staff, and then there's another group for the support staff who are working on the instructional support staff evaluation tool. They met, we did a lot of research, we emailed and connected with many districts in the St. Louis County and greater metropolitan region to see what evaluation tool that they were using. We certainly received data on how that was working in their particular district. We reviewed those tools. We decided to make sure that we reached out and surveyed all our staff holders, and so individuals who were actually evaluated on these instruments. We wanted to make sure we surveyed our teachers, our support staff members, to get their feedback on what they liked about the OL evaluation instruments and what are the things that they hope would be in place for this ones. And then again, we met back as a full group. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but just know that it was a lot of work to continue to review and revise and to ensure that we actually properly vetted the evaluation instrument that we are recommending tonight. We were able to narrow it down between two evaluation instruments, the MEs and the NEs, and then finally we're able to select the NEs. On February 25th, we actually had a virtual training with our Assistant Commissioner of the Office of Quality Education from DESE, and so he was able to sign on and do an evaluation training with all of the staff members who wish to attend. That is recorded. That is also on our back page for staff members to be able to go back and access at a later date, and so that certainly was helpful for us too, and he has been a continued thought partner as a part of this work. And so that takes you to the final part, the full group, and then we canceled a meeting so everyone could vote, and we just gave them work to do virtually on the 8th, and our last meeting will be on May 13th.
So some of the data and impacts that we're hoping that this creates and continues to support is to make sure that there's some employee clarity. Staff have, they'll report that they have a better understanding of their evaluations, the standards that they're being evaluated on, not just for certified staff, but for the support staff that's involved in these as well. Evaluator consistency, making sure, because we have access to DESE trainings and staff as well as other districts utilizing this, that we will be able to reduce the variances that exist between administrators when they go in and score teachers on rating scales. And so that'll be some alignment happening as well. Growth and development is really important for our staff. We know that they need the professional development, but we also want to make sure that we're tying it to something that also has meaning, so that we're not constantly feeling like we're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing this. It's all tied into one thing. So if a teacher's working on a standard, they can also then access professional development that is guided by that standard. If a building is working on a standard that they want to improve, then they can engage in building professional development as well. Equity, making sure that the evaluation tools reflect the roles and the unique duties of the jobs, that they have key performance indicators, and that there are some fair standards across the board. The example that I will give is our Parents as Teachers program was being evaluated on teachers' evaluation tool previously, which you might think makes sense because they're parent educators, but there's actually a whole list of things that they should be doing and required to do that was not listed or able to be connected into their evaluation. So by being able to align that, we know that there's some equity in the practices that they're doing and some good feedback coming out for what they need to improve upon. Retention and morale. We want to make sure that we have improved employee satisfaction and trust in the evaluation system. Again, the consistency the knowledge of the standards, the training that happens across the board from central office on down to support staff, so that people feel like they're being valued and seen, but also that people know what their job duties are as well, and that's tied to their evaluations and feedback. And then again, as Dr. Ambrose Phillips mentioned, alignment with the state compliance and state statutes, so that we are evaluating teachers and reporting those to the state as needed for certified staff and per our district policy. Over the long term, we definitely, like I said, want to make sure that staff feel seen and valued and supported, so that these are things that are developed together in conjunction with their administrators or their supervisors, and that goals and things they're working on are built as a team. And we want to see a stronger connection between performance feedback that they're being given with their job duties and the professional growth that is being offered as well. So this will also help us align with when we see things that might be in need of professional development, we can make plans not just for individuals, but for buildings and for the district across the board. And then a culture of equity, clarity, and continuous improvement. Again, having a consistent revision cycle for these, so that they get looked at repeatedly and revised as needed as those things and or jobs change, or jobs description change, and making things align, and so that everyone is clear on what the expectations are. Next up, we have strengths and challenges. So some things that we're really working well, we have a really strong foundation of professional culture. This district does a really good job of making sure people are engaging deeply in professional development and growing their own knowledge. And that's from top down, across the board. We have clear organizational goals in place with our strategic plan, and as we work on continuing to support those, we want to make sure that those are communicated out, and again, that these evaluation tools that we have support that work that's being done in the strategic plan as well. And then compliance and documentation processes are already established for the certified staff. So we already have processes in place and some of the pieces in place. We're just looking to add to it and again align it to what is available to us in the MEAS. And then some of our current barriers and areas of growth would be to expand the evaluation instrument. So we got through certified staff, we got through instructional support staff. There's a bunch of other classified staffs that we need to get working on. PAT educators are also done as well. So those are a couple of groups that we're able to target and get through, but we know that there's quite a few other ones out there that are still on our list to work on. So we did not meet all of our goals this year, but we are definitely still working on it. Another area of growth is the use of the frontline system. So having those pieces all in the system and it being new does create some challenges in making sure that we are training administrators and staff as well as support staff on how to engage in that system and get access to their evaluation and their tools. And then another barrier will continue to be inconsistent implementation. So just making sure that we are really looking over our processes, our training, and making sure that we can grow the consistency across the board and across the buildings to make sure those processes are the same that are happening in the buildings.
So our recommendations and our next steps. The MOD is actually recommending adoption of the Missouri Educator Evaluation System, the MEAS, for implementation in the district. This evaluation tool will be consistent across all buildings. The goal is to make sure that it ensures fairness, clarity, and then also effectiveness. Also sustainability and funding considerations. One of the things that we mentioned in our earlier board meeting was about the MPER grant. So the grant is used to compensate staff for the MOT work that they're doing above and beyond outside of the meeting times. They're also meeting on dates that were not actually present in that timeline. So there's some compensation that we were able to receive from a grant fund that I wrote on their behalf. So that is one of the things that's working. The other thing is training and consulting fees. That was no cost to the district. So Dr. Katnick agreed to do this training for free, and he's always been a great, again, thought partner and supporter of our Missouri schools and continuing to be a consultant for us for that purpose. We also, as a part of the MPER grant, had a consultant there that we were able to connect with that works for the University of Missouri-Columbia, so we were able to tap into both of those resources for free. There's also no additional anticipated cost for Frontline. We already pay for that system and that platform, when Dr. Bouchard and I tried to do the cost comparison for knees, I think the last district we checked was $22,000 a year, somewhere around there, and that was not financially feasible, given the fact that we already have a system in place and both evaluation instruments met our needs. Needs keeps the data, and so they will not allow you to take that data and store it in your system. So we also wanted to own and keep our data, and Frontline allows us to be able to do so. And then this is the timeline for implementation and follow-up: July, administrator training; August, certified and support staff training; September, implementation; and then we will continue to update the evaluation instruments, as Dr. Bouchard said, for other support staff categories and our athletic personnel. And then finally, last but not least, a huge thank you to these members. They came, they supported, they offered feedback even before knowing that stipends would be given. So we know that they work long days and have lots to do and lots on their plate, and we appreciate all of the additional work that they provided to move us forward in the evaluation process. Are there any questions that Dr. Bouchard and I might be able to answer for you?
I just have a question about the training. When you say training, that's where you go through, like, hey, this is what is going to be expected of you in the future, so everybody has a clear understanding of what they're actually being evaluated on.
Correct. The evaluation instrument, yes, the evaluation instrument is attached to the document. So yes, we'll go over the training with both our administrators and then also our certified staff. One individual who's not here today but was very instrumental in this work is Dr. Lauren Weisler. Lauren actually facilitates the training with our teachers, correct? Okay. Yes, and so that training takes place, and she actually provides the evaluation tool for them, gives them examples of like what successful or effective processes would look like. I also, as a part of this presentation, is attached where you can see that there is some attachments that help to explain additional artifacts that individuals would need to look at and to understand to be able to know how to navigate the evaluation tool.
I have a couple questions. So do I understand correctly then what you're doing is every year currently, everyone is doing this summative evaluation, is that right? And you're trying to move that to an every 3 year and replace the other years with this new tool, is that right?
Not necessarily.
Not exactly.
So one of the first meetings that we had is we talked about our current evaluation instrument. We pulled it out, looked at it, talked about how it was being implemented across the district. One of the things that we found is that there was inconsistency in terms of how it was being implemented. So not everyone was receiving a summative evaluation instrument, yet our policy said that that was happening. So we wanted to make sure that, and we talked about, is the summative is not happening currently across the district. Everyone was being evaluated in some way. So some of those other evaluation processes that I kind of explained before. So evaluations were actually happening and occurring, but not the full summative across the district. It was kind of in certain pockets, it was happening fully every year, and then in other buildings or location, it was not. And so we talked about, was that necessary? And then we researched to see what other districts were doing, and then that's when we landed on the fact that.
Yeah, so this new tool that we'll use, this new one, I'll call it the shorter version, that'll be used every year for every employee, is that right? And then when employees change jobs, I saw a note somewhere in here. So when they change jobs or a new content area they take in, then we would go back to the summative evaluation.
I can jump in for that one. So.
Yeah.
The tool itself was dated, so this is the new evaluation tools for all of the employee groups that Dr. Ambrose Phillips outlined. The only thing she's changing with the modification of the policy is that tenured staff would be evaluated on a summative every 3rd year, where probationary teachers would be every year. So even if, let's just say, Rich McCullum decides to teach math, he still would be evaluated using this same tool. So it doesn't matter if they switch positions within the building for teaching. This is the teaching tool that will be used.
And a summative is sort of a summary of a lot of parts that happens, whereas teachers will get observed and evaluated every year by their administrators. They just won't get a formal summative every 3 years.
They'll use this shorter instrument that you're using, moving to.
No, that's the one for support staff, right? One is for
Right.
support staff.
Yes.
Correct. So you have two different evaluation instruments. One is for our certified staff. It's the summative evaluation form. The other one is the instructional support evaluation form that we created new for our TAs and for our adventure club workers, because they were being evaluated on the same evaluation instrument that maybe a secretary or a non-certified employee that does not have direct contact with kids. And so we wanted to make sure that it was more job specific.
Okay.
So
So do you have the evaluation yet? That's the every year one, the non-summative evaluation?
It will all feed into those standards. So even though you see the summative there's 9 standards. So anytime a teacher gets observed, somebody's still tying it to one of those standards that are in the summative form. It's just they're not going to get a summative report every single year.
So it would be part of the build out, not all.
It's
Right.
part of the build out, and there's other pieces to it. Yeah, like their professional growth plan, and there's a bunch of other pieces that feed into the summative as well that we would put on hold for tenured teachers on a 3-year cycle. But they definitely still get observed. It still gets tied to those 9 standards, and those things happen every year, probably more than what's stated all the time.
Even on a non-summative, it's still going in this form.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Even in a non-summative year, it's still going in the form.
Yeah, it still feeds in.
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Still stores.
Yes.
there's absolutely.
And then when if a teacher leaves the district or we're hiring somebody from out, do we have access to this through the same system? Can we see, or can they see what we've done with teachers in terms of evaluation? It's all just stays internal.
It stays internal.
Okay. So that's why we're not giving it to this state entity. 'Cause they
No,
wouldn't-
that was that was the needs that we was looking at.
Right.
We narrowed it down to the 2 evaluation instruments. That would still stay internal there with that system as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bouchard.
And then, so then next we have the addition of the Career Ladder Program. Ryan, did you have questions about this?
First, I would just wonder if we could somebody explain a little bit more what exactly this is? Are we already participating in it? Is this a new program? So that was my first question. Then I have a couple questions, and actually it may tie into Evan's PAL board comment or request a moment ago. So I just
Yes, no, yes, no, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Career Letter is a state program. It's funded by the state legislature, so it is fully at the beck and call of the legislature approving funding for it every year. A few years ago, we did bring this to the board. So the board policy states that before I can even hit the apply button, if it's a matching grant, I need to get permission. So we're bringing this forth to get permission to apply. When we did this a couple of years ago, the timeline was short. We got permission to apply, we applied, but we also discovered on the back end that we were not able to implement it because some of the positions that we had, we would not be allowed to help this cover. In the last year or two, as I've discovered in rereading some guidance, that they have changed the language since then in this, that it is allowing us to, basically it doesn't specifically state that if you have a position, for example, someone is going to do a robotics club and you've had that for a few years, it no longer states that you cannot use this funding for this purpose. The difficulty that districts have in implementing this is that they typically pay teachers an hourly rate for doing the work. This basically is not counting the hours by the hourly rate, but counting a total number of hours for teachers in a certain section and allowing them to count up those hours, work on those hours, and then get a stipend for it at the end. And then it provides a 60-40 match, which means the district is on the hook for 40% of the stipend plus the retirement and benefits that always get thrown in there. And then the 60% is what the state's going to provide, the 60% of the stipend. This is by choice. This is not anything that teachers would have to do. This is something that a teacher would choose to do, especially at stage 3 because it's 100 hours. So it's a lot. Sounds like a lot. It is a lot. And it's got to be beyond their contract hours, and we can't be paying them for the other things they're doing. So there is a list of allowable and not allowable things that we can and cannot do. But our hope and our goal is that if we have teachers that are interested, we might be able to track, rethink, and reorganize. And in some cases, stage 3 does allow for, if you do $100 or 100 hours divided by a $5,000 stipend, that's like $50 an hour instead of the 33 we're paying. So, and it's still advantageous to us because that's 60% of that is being siphoned off by state funding that we would be allowed to access. This program has been around a very long time, for as long as I can remember that I've been doing this. That's a very long time. So going on 25 years. I know I don't look at, thank you, but it's about 25 years. So it's been around a while, and it's changed a little bit over the year, but I think there's a lot of things that we either A, already do, B, could offer, like tutoring and things like that teachers could get hours for, and or C, looking at some things that we do and how we do them and try to revise what's being done and looking at those in order to offer some compensation.
So on the allowable activities, the second bullet point, serving as a coach, supervisor, or organizer of any extracurricular activities. So could that be something, just looking back to the PAL board report a moment ago, if we added a middle school sports, would that permit the ability to compensate the teachers?
The interpretation of the document is that if you are working directly with students, doing something with them, and it's tied to a strategic plan, a PD plan, or some other goal that we have set forth in the building or by the teacher, it can be tied to it. So I think the answer to your question is yes. They cannot just be sitting in a room with students just kind of working, and I'm over here just on my laptop checking my email. It has to be something that we're engaging with students to improve outcomes for students. And then the district is allowed to, we create the plan, and we create the documents, and we create the process on how we want it to go. We're just required to have their 8 components in there. And we were previously approved for this, so I'm hoping that if approved this evening, we'd be able to get approval from them as well.
So when you apply, are you going to name particular positions in the application, or are you just saying we're going to open it up district-wide and see who?
So when we apply, we put things in there, and we have a sample form and things like that they give us. But I would not be putting anything in that plan specifically. The plan is an outline, and then we as a district would be able to outline a process for things that would and would not qualify. Because again, I can't pay you $33 an hour, $33 an hour to coach and give you career ladder hours. You're going to have to pick one or the other. Yep.
Exactly. Okay. Well, good luck. I hope we get there.
Yep. Sorry.
So this is a completely voluntary program for the teachers.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this from the sort of the teacher's perspective. They're getting income from this. They might become dependent on that income. If the state funding were to go away, do the teachers understand that their funding might go away too?
So this hasn't been brought out other than getting approval to present it and some discussions with central office as far as pushing it out to the teachers and how that looks, just because we would need time to apply, see if we get approved, and then put something into place that would allow them the option to do so. But yes, it states very clearly this is subject to state legislator funding every year. So
it sounds like it'd be good to use it for existing costs that we were already paying for, that maybe we get a little,
yeah, which was a stumbling block earlier.
But then we're not like, oh no, now we've created all these programs. And we
yes,
okay.
Exactly.
You mentioned it was last year as well. How many years? You know how many years you've been?
It wasn't last year, it was the year before last. So it was 2 years ago. So I believe that in the last year, and I don't think it was last year because the guidance has been updated. It was updated September of this year. The guidance and the state, in their state document has been updated. So
how many years has this been running? How many years of the grant process?
Career ladder, 25. Yeah. But it's been updated in the last 2 years specifically to allow for things that are already being done.
In the 25 years, do you recall when it was not funded?
No.
It's always been.
No, but
it could happen.
Yeah,
but
I say that.
It typically is funded.
Yeah. I say that, and I don't know that I pay attention every
Especially
year.
given,
Yeah.
It's
Anyone have any other questions? No? All right. it to action items. Yeah. We have March financial statements by Chris Holzer.
Good evening, everyone. So jumping into the March financial statement overview. Operating revenues through March are right around 24.2 million, or 84% of the budget, which is an increase of nearly 9%. And as we've discussed in prior months, those increases are resulted from the net insurance recovery interest income, our CBE grant, MSD grant in lieu of taxes due to a closed TIF, and I believe we have another TIF that's closing soon, so that's exciting. And then the DNR scrap tire grant, sale of property, and the SSD salary reimbursement payments received. So it is important to note that a number of these revenue streams that we've received this year are not renewable. They won't come in the next year, so just wanted to mention that. Also, within the last 2 weeks, I've had conversations with Jake Zimmerman and Mark DeVore from the assessor's office and the collector's office, respectively. Both are a wealth of information and super down to earth and approachable. Got a little bit of insight from Mr. Zimmerman into this last reassessment. And we did start noticing on our monthly distributions of tax receipts some reductions. So I knew something was going on, but he did share with us that the State Tax Commission is clearing out their nearly 2-year backlog of protest cases. So as those cases are settled, the reductions are made. So I would expect in the coming years, and they're moving at light speed, according to him. So they will be caught up soon and hope to stay caught up. However, with this last reassessment cycle, I would expect a large number of protests. So, but that does mean that recoupments will be in play as we come into setting the tax rates this coming fall. And then I did hear from Mark DeVore that they are on track to distribute the protested taxes. The friendly lawsuit's been settled, and the order's been submitted. The order's been made by the judge to the collector to release those impounded protested taxes. So we should get those in our May distribution. So luckily they're back on track. We've received those as late as the last week of June in past, and that gets a little nerve-wracking as we near the end of the fiscal year. So just wanted to mention those couple things. Here on expenditures, you see that salary and benefits are about 76% of the budget, and as we get into the budget presentation here in a few minutes, you'll see that that's nearing 80 and will likely crest 80% as we complete the budget for fiscal 26. So on the expenditure side, expenditures for salaries and benefits for $14.4 million through March. Purchase services through March are $2.7 million, or right at 69% of the budget versus the prior year, which was 2.4. Those increases are primarily due to property and liability insurances and moving the expedition travel costs from where they were to contracted student transportation. So that's something that the state needed us to do, so we were happy to oblige there. Supplies are about $1.6 million, or 70% of the budget, compared to 1.3 last year, and that's due to recording our food supplies expenses, which we've also talked about in prior months, on the supply side as opposed to the purchase service side. And increased costs for heating. Natural gas is up, we knew that. The purchase of literacy resources for review. This was a pilot year, and per policy IF, which was approved, I believe, earlier this year or at the end of last year. Capital outlay, we're right just under $400,000, 94% of the budget, and higher than the prior year. Long and short-term debt related to our 2023 COPS, or lease purchase agreement. We did make our final payment in March that was due in April, but they like the money available on April 1st, so we always make that, we do that wire a day in advance of that to keep everybody from getting too nervous about it. And then overall operating expenses are $19.5 million and are comparable to the prior year. Right now, we are budgeting a 33.9% ending fund balance. That number will move around slightly as we come closer to the end of the year and start getting a clearer picture as it comes more into focus as what our revenues will end at along with our expenses. I will say that we've done a pretty good job since December. Not that we weren't doing a good job prior to December, but as of December, we did make some strategic moves with all of our district budgets, the buildings and departments, to make sure that the funds that were allocated were being spent, and those that weren't are put back into contingency and hopefully put back to fund balances as we near the end of the fiscal year. Any questions?
I actually have one question. The note and expenditures about moving expedition travel costs to contracted student services or transportation, was that something we did when we made the budget, or they've asked you to do that since then?
I believe we did that when we made the budget, but that is a
So there's no,
noticeable
like,
difference.
corresponding savings somewhere else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Nope, all right, thank you. And you're okay.
All right, I will move forward to the May presentation for the 26 budget. As Chrome decided to quit on me. Give me just a second. Not sure why it did that. Sorry about that. Chrome doesn't usually crash on me like that. Okay, diving right in. So we've shared these tax rates with you previously, so I won't spend too much time on them. They're here before you. I won't read them to you. We do know that assessed values did grow substantially for this reassessment year. When we do look at the revenue generated, 22.5 on the general fund, 536 on the capital projects, and about $4.5 million to debt service, and that's due to the decrease that we've moved from debt service to operations. And I will say that the next time you see this, we will have probably adjusted these numbers down just slightly. I've gotten a hold of a Senate Bill 190 calculator. It won't be perfect. It's based on census data, which is obviously lagging. So, and also multiple zip codes involved in just a portion of Richmond Heights. So it'll be a bit of a trick to tease out those numbers. And it's a guess anyway. This first year, according to our collector and our assessor, is going to be a bit bumpy as everyone learns the process, new process for this senior tax credit. But we will be doing those calculations and hope to have those done for the May presentation. I don't expect these to move tremendously, but they will definitely move. And again, thank you, voters. Haven't made any adjustments here to state formula funding. However, the signals we're getting from the state are to be even more conservative than we have been on some of these allocations. So we're going to review again to make sure that we're not overstating these too much. So you can see there's a reduction on the classroom trust fund, which Carrie Monsees from the state has advised that we remain conservative here and consider being even more conservative. Also, due to attendance and some of those numbers, we are struggling a little bit on the collection side, but we are hearing that they're going to try and fully fund the formula, which is a bit of a numbers game anyway, so I won't get into that. Prop C continues to come in strong, and we'll see how that turns out as we end this fiscal year, and that will do a good job of informing us on what to expect in the coming year. So right here, you're looking at local revenue, 33.7 million, and you can see the distributions in front of you there, 29 million to local revenue, which includes our preschool and Discover Club increases to tuition, along with food service, sales to students and adults. Our county revenues, our state revenues at 3.8 million, and federal revenues anticipating a decline due to finally the nearly final distributions of our ESSER funds. Those will be declining. Who knows what other types of grants. A lot of movement with federal programs and things of that nature. So we're watching very closely, and we'll update these numbers as we get better information. The budget allocations are not yet out, so this is our best guess at this time with the information we have on hand. And revenue from other LEAs, this is a bit of a moving target. I usually budget somewhere around 40,000. I think we're about 36,000 collected right now, so we're probably going to hit that but that's also including some prior payments that were delinquent from districts around town due to shared costs with homeless transportation. Excuse me. Just a graphical look, and if I were to rewind about 10 years, you would see a similar spike when we passed the bond and tax levy in 2016. You'd see that similar spike. So that's pretty typical after we pass an operating levy increase. Salaries are projected to be 1.3 or 8% across all salary categories. This will increase as we're tightening down the numbers for our extra duties. I spent all day on that. Dr. McGee provided me with some numbers last night and into this morning, so we're crunching those and getting those all put into position control to make sure everything's calculating accurately. And to speak to the PAL board members' presentation just a little bit, we have been doing an audit of our extra duties, inclusive of sports, so I do believe that when we bring those to you, as we add those to the budget, they have been vetted, and we are making some of those decisions. We've asked the principals to give us student enrollment counts for those various clubs so that we can make some of those informed decisions on which of those clubs need to remain, and if there's interest in other clubs that we could then shift that funding to. And of course, the 3.75% increase to the support staff salary base, along with their 2.75% increase on the schedule, and then 3.75% increase to administrator salaries. Benefits, this number is higher than it was last month at the presentation. I suspected that that number was a little bit low, so as we went through and tightened up position control, it did come back a bit higher, and this will grow just a little bit more as we add those extra duty contracts in. Increases due to those increases in medical insurance premiums, again, we're looking at anywhere from 18 to 20%, and I don't see that trend shifting. I am happy to report that NEA has partnered with district administration, largely me, to go on an information education campaign. So at our last PD day, they had that session, and our representatives from Willis Towers Watson, along with the CSD Insurance Trust, were there to assist in that endeavor, and I appreciate the partnership there. I've been looking for that for years, and we've finally gotten it, and I just wanted to publicly thank the NEA for their assistance in that endeavor. Okay, so we have some staffing changes. Not all of them are here. As of the publishing of this presentation last Friday, not all of them had been communicated to my office. We also didn't have some of the numbers. So the elimination of the CFO position and changing it to Executive Director of Business and Finance, I think I said that backwards, Finance and Business Services, I think is how it was officially stated. We didn't have the number at that time. We do have a number now, so depending on the certifications that the person brings with them as they come in and which system they pay into, we could recognize at least a year one savings of somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000. Eliminating the IT manager in favor of a contracted services model. We don't have bids yet on that. I believe that RFP is scheduled to hit the streets very soon, so hopefully we'll get those numbers. I don't know if we'll have them by May, but we hope to have them certainly by the time we lock in the budget for fiscal 26. So that's still to be determined. The maintenance position, which we added last year, it's a painter position that remained vacant, and we are eliminating that position. You see the savings there. The digital media specialist that was eliminated this year, savings are there. The data specialist positions have been eliminated, the savings there. Tech support specialist has been eliminated, and you see the savings there. We are adding an SIS, or Student Information Systems Specialist position, and you can see the increase there. One other is the tech support position and blended learning specialist. So those are, did I say that right, blended learning specialist? Those had not made it to my desk by the time I put this together, so I'll make sure that these are in there. Those are in there for next month. Purchase services are currently budgeted to be 3.6, which is down $248,000 from the prior year. And continuing to review and trim the building budgets, it's a tedious and arduous process. Dr. J and I have been partnered and locked in my office. We call it the war room now. I've erased my board so that either she or I can scribble on the board. You know, if one of us stands up, somebody's about to get a lesson. So that's been an experience. And we will, I think we're through everybody now, aren't we, Dr. J? Yeah, we have some touch-ups to do and some refinements, and I think Dr. McGee's prepared a document that we'll look at early next week. Supplies are budgeted $2.45 million. Those are up slightly at about $71 million, or 3% from the prior year, and we've talked about the capitalization threshold, largely due to that. But we also need to recognize that that policy IF and the piloting process for resource adoption does add a significant portion to the budget there, but it's also worth noting that curriculum writing goes down somewhat as a result of that. I don't know that it's a like-for-like offset there, but there is definitely at least a bit of an offset. So we'll continue to review. On the supply side, Tony Arnzen, our accounting manager, who's joined us this evening, has been very diligent in going through and making all of the adjustments. That's a very tedious job. It's tedious going through the conversations, but it's even more tedious making the changes in the systems. So I appreciate your work on that, Tony. Capital expenditures are just under $100,000, which is down significantly primarily due to moving those expenses over to the debt service or bond project. Excuse me, the word escaped me there for a moment. And then paying off that lease purchase agreement. That's $280-something thousand a year that will disappear. So that capitalization threshold, again, we mentioned here, and all of those, the majority of those projects have been moved to the bonds. So we're excited to, we had a lunch meeting yesterday, a working meeting with Navigate, Tony, myself, Dr. Dietrich, and a representative from Navigate started going through those projects. So we pooled our ignorance and came up with a bit of an intelligent framework for what those projects are going to look like as we continue to move through the spring and fleshing those out with the hopes of getting shovels in the ground, at least for the track and the field, as soon as school is out and graduation is done. All right, right now we're looking at the operating summary here. So salary is about 18 million, benefits 6.1, close to 6.2. Again, those will increase slightly as we get all the extra duties plugged in. Purchase services and supplies, these will move 3.6, 2.4 as those adjustments that we've been making to the budget, which have been significant, I might add, this week. So these numbers will definitely change next time you see them. And then capital outlay, we've already talked about that number. So right now we're looking at an operating budget right around 30.4 million. Those increases largely due to salary and benefits increases as they relate to the CBA and support staff salary increases. Salaries and benefits here, don't necessarily need to do the math, but I did mention that we would be near or slightly over that 80%, which I will say since I've been, for the 9 years that I've been doing this, that is the highest percentage of salaries and benefits in comparison to the other components of the operating budget that I've seen. So that is typically where I would like to see it, and it's been a while since we've been there, so I'm happy to report that we're back there. Now we just have to sustain it. Lots of numbers, it's a big schedule, sorry about that. You can see our ending funding balance right now, according to the budget, right around that 34% mark, looking right around that 43.5% for 26, and again, these numbers will shift around a little bit as we finalize the budget. We still have a ton of work to do. While the numbers are plugged into all the schedules in the book, all the narratives are not complete, so that's going to be a huge lift, so we're gonna hit the ground next week. As I work in position control and start working on those narratives, Tony will start going through and tying all those numbers and making sure everything is still making sense. And I've already gone through my next steps here inadvertently, so preparing the draft of that 100-plus page budget book is an extraordinary task. I've done it by myself for the last 2 or 3 years. It's nice to have a partner in completing that book this year. Happy to answer any questions you might have at this time. Hearing none, I will turn the screen over to anyone else who would like it.
Thank you. All right, next we have board communications and discussion. appreciation event, correct? So that will be fun. And we have a work session on May 1st. I don't know if anyone has any other events they'd like to highlight that are coming up.
Nothing that's come up, but I would like to acknowledge the fantastic job that the mock trial team did. I know that the kids put in a lot of work, and apparently they came in first, so yeah.
They did. They won state. I was there. It was amazing to watch those kids. They faced some adversity and they stayed strong, and it was impressive, honestly. When you're watching them, you're thinking, gosh, these kids haven't even gone to college yet. And they are headed to nationals in Phoenix, Arizona from May 7th to the 11th. So, yeah.
We'll wish them luck.
Anything else? All right. And then we have on here board perpetual calendar. I don't know. I think, we've talked about going through this and seeing if people have comments. I don't know if people did that for tonight, or if that's something that might make sense when we're doing our norms and protocols, maybe to think
Kat and I met based on
Okay.
the leadership meeting, and we went through based on the feedback
Okay.
from our meeting to put like what's required by board policy, what's required by state statute, and then we're looking at placement of those items. So we're hoping to bring that item to the board and share it out so that you can see what those are, and then we can get feedback for things that you have questions about. So we're trying to tweak it to put the things that are required so that the board can be informed about items that may be able to be removed.
That sounds perfect. Thank you. All right, next we have our committee reports. Does anybody have a report to give? No, I have, we had Joe's Place meeting last night, and it was awesome to hear that we now have 2 kids living in the house with possibly a third coming soon. We also brought on a new board member, which was exciting. She has lived in Maplewood for 15 years and is semi-retired from WashU, is an epidemiologist, and just has a real strong data background, which will be really cool. She's really interested in helping with data and stuff, so that was exciting. We also talked about the disc golf tournament. We're gonna move that to the fall sometime. May is a really tough month with anyone with school children or who works in a school district or a school. So that will just give more time. And plus we had moved the other event to February, so it gives a little bit better spacing. So look out for an updated date on that. And then let's see. Another thing was we heard about some cool potential summer camp opportunities for one of the residents. So I hope those work out because they would be really amazing. So, and that's all I had. I don't know. Vince, did I miss anything? Okay.
The 4 resources meeting is on Monday. 4 resources meeting is on Monday at 6.
Right. All right, no more reports. Then we'll move on to action items. The first is a motion to approve the career ladder.
We just gotta do the whole consent agenda, don't we?
We already
We did that. Yeah, I move that we approve the career ladder grant application.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, any discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. And then next we may get a motion to move into executive session.
I move that we enter executive session in accordance with section 610.021, subsections 1, 3, 9, 13, and section 610.022 of the revised statutes of Missouri on April 17th, 2025, for the following specific reasons, legal and personnel matters.
Second. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Aye. Trent.
Yes.